What's up everyone, welcome back to Lace Up Channel. My name's Mickey. In this video, I'm gonna tell you everything there is to know about put away. That's right guys, putting product away from your receiving area into a bin of some kind. Now this is like, Mickey, I know how to do my put away. Listen Johnny, I'm with you. Most of us have an inkling, most of us have an idea of something that works, but do you know the best methodologies? Do you know the best practices? That's the purpose of this video. We're gonna discuss the methodologies, the practices, and the end result should you do it right. Anyways, let's get right into it. So guys, look, the entire purpose of putting product away from a receiving bin into a bin of some kind is to track that product's whereabouts, to optimize the picking and packing of that product, and to have a live inventory within your warehouse. And guys, there's only two methodologies for putting product away. The first methodology is called the indirect methodology, and the second one is the direct. Let's start with the indirect, the one that most of my customers use. Let's say, for example, that I receive a purchase order from a vendor and off the truck come 2 pallets. One pallet contains a set of sodas and the other pallet contains a set of potato chips. Let's say that on the sodas we have Coke and Diet Coke. Just to use an example, and I know it's arbitrary, but you know what I'm saying, guys. On the other pallet, we've got Lay's and barbecue chips. Simple, okay? So what I'm gonna do is in an indirect put away, I'm going to break down both of those pallets. Now breaking down a pallet entails cutting the saran wrap around a pallet and removing the product from the pallet whilst counting it. So let's start with the soda pallet. Let's say that I break down the pallet and I count 100 Cokes and 100 Diet Cokes. Well, what I'm going to do is normally I'm going to take each of those items and place them on their own pallet. Now, again, this is for those of us that have abundant space within our warehouse. Those of us that are more constrained to a smaller space, sometimes when they put away product in an overstock bin, they mix products on the same pallet. But the best practice in an indirect put away is to put individual products on their own pallets. Then we turn our attention over to the potato chips. Let's say again, we've got 100 Lay's and 100 barbecue. Again, we're gonna put them on a separate pallet, okay? We now have 2 product categories, beverages and potato chips. Also, these products more than likely within our system share the same SKU. And for those of you that don't know, the SKU is, and I have it written here, is a stock keeping unit that contains manufacturer information, the size of the product, it's got the brand, the product's properties, all of that information built into it. So essentially, we've broken down the pallets, we've grouped the items by product type and by SKU, and now we're gonna put them away. First, we're gonna take the beverages, take them to a rack, and we're gonna put the Coke and the Diet Coke nearby one another. So next, we're gonna take the potato chips, and we're gonna take the Lay's and the barbecue over to the rack, and we're gonna put them next to each other because again, they're potato chips. So essentially, what have we done? We broke down our pallet in the indirect put away. We grouped items by product type as well as product SKU. And then we put them away by product type and product SKU. What that's gonna do, it will optimize the time in which you're able to put product away because essentially you're grouping by product category and by SKU and then placing them in bins next to one another so that they are in close proximity. In the event that you need to pick both a Lay and a barbecue chip on the same order, guess what? You just have to go from one bin right next to the other. So you see how it optimizes your picking. Now if this is your, Mickey, we know this. You're telling us things we know. Listen, Johnny, I know. I'm sure most of you have huge distribution businesses that have been through this. But I want you guys to first have the methodologies of put away in mind before we get into the best practices. So let's now talk about the second methodology, which is the direct put away. After having talked about the indirect, the direct is extremely simple. I receive a pallet, that pallet has 3 items on it, and I simply take the entire pallet and I put it away. Now this is you're like, why would I do that? That's gonna mean I can't track the inventory on the pallet. Listen, Johnny, the only reason you would do that is because you want to receive a PO that's going to be shipped out directly for a sales order. So there's no need to break it down because what you're receiving is what's getting shipped out. That's one reason for doing it. The second reason for doing a direct put away is because you just don't have any space in your damn warehouse to break down the pallet, form 3 different pallets, and put them away. So I've got a customer here in Miami that does ice cream products, and at any point in time from a purchase order, they could receive 5, 10, 20 items on a PO, and he chooses to take the vendor's word for what he's receiving, and he simply does direct put away on 99.9% of his products. Now obviously this helps at the moment of putting the product away because you don't have to break down the pallet, you don't have to count the product, and then you don't have to re-saran wrap the pallet or the new pallet and then put multiple pallets away. So you're saving a bunch of time. But the exchange of that is that you can't validate the integrity of your entire inventory because you have what's now called a mixed pallet. A mixed pallet that is then going to get broken down at a later phase in the warehouse and get distributed amongst multiple orders. That's where the direct put away doesn't work. When the product is coming on a pallet that you're not going to break down yet, when it gets picked, it's going on multiple orders, there's no guarantee that what's on that pallet is going to be correct, correlated to what's on the order. So the picker can come to that mixed pallet, grab the wrong product, and put it on the cart for that order. That's why direct put away for mixed pallets are so dangerous. So guys, now that you know indirect put away and direct put away, and kind of the pros and cons of each, let's talk about the put away best practices. So the first best practice of a put away is you have to have all of your bin locations numbered and named. It's that simple, guys. Like the tree, right? The orange falls from the tree. It's like so common sense. Let me give you an example. I go into a warehouse that's 40,000 square feet and none of the racks are labeled, none of the bays are labeled, none of the bins are labeled. How am I supposed to find the whereabouts of a product or put the product away in the first place without having everything itemized and labeled? So what I want you guys to do down below, I'm going to link my video where I show you guys how to create bin locations. And I want you to go through your entire warehouse and create bin locations for your team. That way, they don't have to resort to memory when it comes to putting product away and picking product. They know that in A-1-2-3 sit the Lay's potato chips. And when you go pick the Lay's potato chips, you go to A-1-2-3. It's that damn simple. So the first best practice, label your warehouse bins. The second best practice is put away product the day you received it. That's right, guys, rocket science, light bulb, oh my God, I'm revealing all the secrets of the universe to you. No, guys, look, if you don't receive and put away on the same date, then product just accumulates in your receiving bin. Now, of course, you know this, but you're more focused on picking and doing other activities in the warehouse and putting it away, but the problem is that the put away is the foundational component. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you receive product today, but you don't put it away until tomorrow. Well, whatever you pick from today to tomorrow could have altered fill rates on those orders because you had the product sitting in your damn receiving area and you never put it away. Not to mention, you're occupying all the space in your receiving area. Let's say, for example, that you receive a PO today that you weren't supposed to receive. Where are you supposed to put it if you've got your entire dock filled with product that you haven't yet put away? Last but not least, this is a good segue in what happens if you let the product accumulate, if you don't put it away the same day of, and product starts stacking on top of each other. Number one, you're not going to know what you've received over time, and number two, you're going to get inevitably damaged product. I can't tell you how many of my customers have this issue or have had this issue, and now the result is a bunch of inventory that they have to write off because they were unable to have a process to put product away every single day. So what do most of my customers do to implement this process, guys, so that they do it the same day it's received? What you want to do is you want to set times during the day for which your team is focused on put away. Now, I know you guys are like, I want to pick orders, I want to get my sales out. Yes, Johnny, but you can't do that without putting away what you're receiving. So make sure you have a schedule for when you receive, when you put away, and when you pick. That's simple. And every day that needs to reproduce itself and that needs to replicate itself so that the product gets put away properly. So second best practice is put away the same day you receive. The third best practice, and this is going to fall from the tree again, this is super common sense. Get yourself a damn warehouse management system. Again, I'm not advocating mine. I've said this a million times. I could care less which WMS you purchase, but you guys need to have a WMS that redirects the person receiving and putting away the product into the correct bin and then forces that person to scan the location when they put the product away. Because even though you've got all these racks labeled and all these bins labeled, if you don't have a WMS, the probability of somebody still taking the product and putting the pallet in the wrong bin is exponentially larger than with a WMS system. Get yourself, even at the most basic, even QuickBooks Enterprise with advanced inventory works, get yourself something extremely basic where you can give these guys a scanner and then they're able to go, scan the pallet that you've just received and they're able to put it away. That's simple. And I guess this is a good segue into the next best practice. Make sure that every pallet that gets received gets tagged. You have to tag a pallet, especially after you break it down during an indirect put away, re-saran wrap it, you need to tag it. If you have a WMS, that tag should have a barcode, and that barcode should outline the contents of the pallet. So when you're putting the product away, when you have a WMS, you walk up to the label, you scan the label, the system goes, hey, it goes in A-1-2-3. You walk over to A-1-2-3 and you scan it. So again, guys, with the WMS, you should have your bins labeled with QR codes and your product that you're putting away labeled with QR codes. And if you don't have a WMS system, label both regardless. That way, when you're putting away, when you're picking, you know, at least visually, without having to do a scan to confirm, obviously that's more bulletproof, but visually you know that not only are you picking the right bin, but you're also picking the right product off the pallet. It has a big label that says these are the Lay's potato chips. The next best practice is to count product a second time when it goes to get put away directly into a picking bin. So guys, if you use indirect put away, you take the pallet off the truck, you break it down, you make a new pallet, you go to put that pallet away, and you need to realize you need to put away that pallet directly into a picking bin. Well, what you should do at that stage is you're gonna cut the saran wrap, you're gonna take the product and you're gonna recount it, putting it into its put away bin. This is gonna give you a double check just on the scenarios where you're putting away into the put away. It's like a spot check to ensure that the product that's getting put away, the quantities being put away, match what indeed was on the purchase order. Now at this stage, you're like, Mickey, I don't have the resources to do all of this. Johnny, I'm with you. Like, most people don't have the resources. So what you have to do is you have to do a cost-benefit analysis. You have to look at not having my inventory in the right bin, not having the correct quantities on hand. That's affecting my purchasing. That's affecting my out of stocks. That's affecting my expired product. It's affecting those things. What's the cost of doing that? Versus, what's the cost of employing somebody additional to do these double checks? What's the cost of deploying a warehouse management system? You're going to do a cost-benefit analysis, and at some point, I promise you, because we're not reinventing the wheel here, we're not Jesus Christ or God reinventing a new concept called distribution. Like, distribution has been the same for centuries. After you get to a certain stage, you have to scale your business with systems and with employees. So guys, do that cost benefit and figure out if you're at that stage. So those best practices are a good segue into the conclusion of this video. If you put away correctly, you will have accurate inventory of your product. You will know the exact whereabouts of each product. You will minimize your out of stocks and your out of code dates. So which means that's going to drastically improve your balance sheet, right? Your written off inventory at the end of the year, and overall it's going to reflect in your pocket and your net income that you take home. Not to mention, guys, look, doing this is going to optimize both your put away process in terms of speed, so the speed at which you take the pallet and actually put it away, as well as the speed at which you pick. When you put product away properly, you're able to optimize your picking in a way that you can pick by product type or product SKU, maybe from heaviest to lightest, as most of my customers do. So again, putting away properly gives you accurate inventory, which has its own tremendous set of benefits, but also it's going to optimize your picking and the actual put away process itself. And lastly, it's going to optimize your warehouse space, which we've already talked about. And this is great because this means that you won't have to scale and grow into a bigger warehouse and incur that extra cost just because you're not organized. So anyways, guys, look, I hope that you enjoyed that video. I'm sorry for blabbing on some segments, but the goal is to inform you on this put away process. I'm not the most technically savvy person in warehouse management, but I can at least make a complicated subject and make it just a little bit simpler for you so that you can digest it. If you enjoyed my process, like the video again, subscribe down below, super important. I hope that you have an amazing day. Take care.